This is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the producer's cut. In this film, unlike the theatrical, well, like the theatrical release, Daniel Harris's character of Jamie Lloyd is replaced by J.C. Brandy, who the only difference between in the producer's cut and the the theatrical release. In the theatrical release, Michael Myers kills her by like impaling her on uh, some kind of farm thrasher or whatever thing, and in the uh, in the actual producer's cut, she's shot by a member of the Thorn Cult, which has been a sort of running part of the whole story arc throughout Halloween 4, 5, and this film, part 6. Also, introduced in this film is actor Paul Rudd, who is then an unknown actor who is playing the adult version of Tommy Doyle, who was babysat by Jamie Lee Curtis in the original film. So yeah, pretty interesting shit.
Hi, this is D.S. Yoxheimer. This is another edition of Spectre, and this is my final film review for the month of October for the Halloween season. And of course, I'm doing a Halloween movie, which is Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, the producer's cut. And just as you saw in that opening, we saw that Jamie Lloyd's character is being played by another actress. It's not Daniel Harris. It's a older version of the character because she's having a baby, which is apparently her uncle's baby. That's been implied. The actress, her name is J.C. Brandy, and I'm sure she's probably changed her name by now to disassociate herself from this film. But she is helped in the beginning of the movie. A nurse or somebody helps her escape. In the beginning, she's being, wheeled in on like a gurney. She's pregnant. She's in labor through some kind of utility access corridor with all these pipes and steam. It's just seems to happen in Halloween movies and Nightmare on Elm Street movies too. So anyway, that's basically what's going on there. It doesn't make any freaking sense, but it's within the canon of Halloween 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and 6. Of course, Halloween 3, as we know, was supposed to be an anthology film, or was supposed to be the start of anthology films for the Halloween series. So anyway, because Michael Myers was burned in part 2. So it's one of these things where, particularly this movie, it's like, what the fuck is Michael Myers' motivation? It's more like he's being controlled by a cult, through the mystical powers of the leader of this cult, which apparently is Dr. Wynn, who's the head of this Thorn cult, and it's what Paul Rudd's character, who is Tommy Doyle in this movie, he was the kid that Laurie Strode babysat in the first film. He's obsessed with it. He's on the early internet, because keep in mind, this is 1995. He was on the computer at one point in the movie, looking up the Thorn cult, looking up information on it for the one Strode relative. And there are just a bunch of other Strode relatives, this whole other family. It's Laurie Strode's dad's brother, who buys the Myers house, which is totally not the fucking Myers house, and it annoys me because they did this in the other movie, which was a completely other house, different house, and it just really takes you out of it, because when you see the original house in the film, it basically puts you back into Haddonfield and in that world where Michael Myers exists. So that's kind of why I don't like when they do this kind of shit. Even if the movie isn't going to be that great, at least we know it's, there's continuity there, which I guess that's a little hard to ask for in a Halloween movie. But anyway, moving right along.
What frustrates me the most about these sequels, the ones following Halloween 3, is that the original Myers house is never featured. It's this house. This is the original Myers house. And the aforementioned house was sold. Well, the Myers house was sold to Laurie Strode's uncle from her dad, because people in horror movies are just fucking stupid. And also, Michael Myers is is guided by some evil force, by the Thorn cult, which is, that makes a whole lot of fucking sense.
So, throughout this movie, of course, you have the Thorn cult, and there, you see the guy, Wynn, is wearing the, black trench coat, and basically kind of his face is obscured with some kind of veil or mask. And he appeared in the last movie, or there was a character like that, when Michael Myers was in jail, and Daniel Harris was in it. And I think it's just in the producer's cut, they show like a flashback that they didn't use in the theatrical release of Michael getting, dragged away in a van or something, and all of that. And this film marks the final film that Donald Pleasance is in, playing Dr. Loomis. He passed away before it was released. And unfortunately had to, I don't know why he kept doing these movies. I mean, I know it's a paycheck, I guess. I mean, I would fucking do them. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind being in even a cheesy Halloween movie. Why not? But anyway, but he's really, he's struggling. He's old. I mean, he's not like, he seems to be very weak, and just because he's old, that's was kind of a sad thing to see and everything when you see people getting older. Which, not that I'm alluding to that, but I mean, he did do a good job in this movie, all things considered, and with the sort of writing he had to work with, which was utterly shit. I mean, this plot is just trash. It's hard to even, seriously do an analysis of it and review it because it's so bad. But, Michael Myers is basically kind of a puppet of this Thorn cult. And they, of course, they after, Paul Rudd catches up with Kara Strode at the house with the baby. He's been running around with the baby. He left the hospital with a baby when he met up with Dr. Loomis, and it was like he's just just some strange white guy running out of a hospital with a fucking baby, and just like there's hospital staff all around, and just like somebody's got a baby like that. I mean, they're not going to just let you leave with a baby, and stuff, unless you're like with someone and there's a stroller and you're checking out with your wife or something. But anyway, I know it's just a movie. And Paul Rudd always seems, the one time or something I saw somebody ask about Halloween 6, he just said it was the first movie he did. He didn't say much else about it. So anyway, Kara and her son, Danny, they get mixed up in all this. And so Kara winds up getting, of course, captured by the Thorn cult. And, she's taken by them, I guess, to make another, and they have the baby too. And so it's up to Tommy, and Dr. Loomis to rescue them. Um, it doesn't have the same dynamic of the other Halloween movies where you have sort of the police going after Michael Myers because he's an escaped mental patient, which is all he really is, who doesn't talk and wears a mask and doesn't seem to die real easy, but other than that, we don't really need much more than that. But the subsequent sequels to Halloween just sort of had to have kind of a, uh, they needed to have a reason as to why he, seemed to be kind of invulnerable. So they wanted to introduce a more supernatural element, which the Thorn cult basically does very poorly.
So basically, let's just get this straight. Tommy Doyle, who was traumatized after the Halloween night he experienced in 1978 when he was being babysat by Laurie Strode and attacked by Michael Myers, even though he I think, just ran up the fucking street with that other girl whose name escapes me. So anyway, he has Jamie Lloyd's baby, and then he runs into Danny Strode on the street, lures him back, basically back to the house. He's up in his bedroom with him as Danny's playing his Game Boy when his mother, Kara, encounters them. And then she winds up being like either a sacrifice or for, I think, Michael Myers to impregnate to make another murderer like him, because that's really what the Thorn cult wants. So yeah, that's what's going on there. Deborah Strode is axed by Michael Myers right in broad daylight in her side yard. And later on, John Strode, the abusive alcoholic asshole realtor, is electrocuted in his basement. And that just actually, that's the best part of the whole movie, quite frankly. In either the producer's cut or the regular film. Actually, I think in the regular cut, his head just fucking explodes. That's even better.
Best part of this movie, John Strode getting electrocuted by Michael Myers. Yeah. I just had to use that. Anyway, so her parents, they get offed, and like, who gives a shit? They they were like complete throwaway fucking characters. I mean, the mother was trying to take charge at least, and like he called him on the phone when he was at work, and he's like drinking bourbon or something and getting fucked up and saying, "No, we're not leaving the house." And but during this time when he's stalking around the house, I mean, it's broad daylight, and there's like, and this is Haddonfield, and there's a guy in a mechanic's coveralls in a white painted fucked up Captain Kirk mask, and nobody's like calling the cops or anything. Like, hey, the dude who like totally shows up here every year and murders people is outside. So that basically happened. So they Kara gets surrounded by this is basically how it happens. Kara gets surrounded by the Thorn cult in this house. She didn't know they were members of it. This old lady that ran the boarding house that Tommy Doyle was living in, where he was, basically obsessing over, Michael Myers and the Thorn cult, and had newspaper clippings and the whole conspiracy theory sort of looking set up, one would have. um, he she was a member of it, so she jumps out a fucking window in like from like a second story window or something, and doesn't break anything, I guess, and gets caught anyway. And so she's basically on like a stone, whatever, slab, and the baby's there and all of that. And Michael Myers is like standing there. And it's so weird, like he would just be like, oh, I'm an official member. He's like, Michael Myers just goes around and like kills people. Like he's not listening to anybody. No one's telling him what to do. In the first movie, or this second movie for that matter, he just wants to kill like Laurie Strode in that movie. And in, let's say, the new movie, the just for last year, that's basically what he did, and that's why I liked it, because that's what he does. I mean, he's not, no one's, his motivation is he's a sociopath basically, and in this one it's just he just looks really silly, and he looks less, like someone lurking in the shadows when he's just standing there, like he's kind of like Darth Vader, and Emperor Palpatine has him like, on a leash. So that's sort of like what it was, and it's pretty much what it is. But I mean, it's they decided like, hey, we're just gonna make go this whole other direction with him, because we don't, and we're gonna make him kind of a part of like a messianic cult, and we're gonna try to establish this purpose behind what he does, and they just did it a very very absurd manner, to even. I mean, they could have done all kinds of things, like some sort of other childhood trauma or whatever that led him to become a fucking psychopath. I mean, he stabbed his sister when he was like a kid, so we're in a fucking clown mask. That's what, not sure what's going on. No, it doesn't really matter what's going on. The point usually of these movies is that, I guess, is to, how do we stop him? And anyway, I mean, it is, in this movie, they do go about stopping him, but it is in, like, the most absurd way.
So Paul Rudd, Tommy Doyle, rescues Jamie's baby and Kara from the Thorn cult by putting a knife to Dr. Wynn's throat. He stops Michael with rune stones, while Dr. Loomis decides to go back into Smith's Grove for some fucking no sane reason. He discovers Michael has switched places with Dr. Wynn as the thorn symbol appears on his wrist. Michael is walking down a dark corridor in Wynn's trench coat, and a jack-o'-lantern appears as it extinguished. Then Michael returns to his real house. As it turns out, Laurie Strode faked her death and had a son instead, and is the headmistress of a prep academy. Realizing how ill-prepared she was, she went doomsday prepper and did a DNA test to prove that Michael was no relation at all, not even her brother.
So I just sort of incorporated the H2O in the 2018 Halloween movie and stuff like that, and all of that, a little bit of humor, clunkily put together there, for a franchise that I actually do have a lot of affection for. I mean, I really do love Halloween. Obviously, I love the holiday, and I love the film series. There's really only, I guess, maybe a couple of the films I like. H2O I thought was kind of a little bit it was like a Scream movie, basically. That's around the time Scream came out, so that's why it looked the way that it did. It was just following that trend. But anyway, getting back to how this movie ended, and how the Part 6, the theatrical version, ended. This movie basically ends with, Paul Rudd, as it said, stopping him with rune stones, and then Michael Myers switches place with Wynn, and thusly escaping once again. The theatrical version has Paul Rudd putting a bunch of syringes full of tranquilizers and stabbing him, and then beating the shit out of him with a pipe, and then that's basically inserted in between two scenes that are in both movies, where up until the point where they do fight Michael Myers or defeat him that way, or at least temporarily defeat him, and then Loomis and the Kara and Danny Strode escape in the elevator, and then they get out and Paul Rudd's out there, Tommy Doyle, in a Jeep, and they're in there. It's like, hey, you coming with us? And and Donald Pleasance is just like, Dr. Loomis is just like, oh, I've got some unfinished business, and they just let this poor old guy wander back into Smith Grove Sanitarium, and you just hear that same scream. I think it's the same one they used when you see him in the other version, where he's just looking at his wrist and he sees the thorn symbol appear on his wrist. So that's basically the major difference. And there's one other difference too to be noted. In the producer's cut, when Danny Strode puts a knife to his grandfather after he smacks her mother, you see, he looks through the curtains and he hears a little voice, and he sees Michael Myers just briefly, through the curtains out front of the house or whatever. That's another noticeable thing. And of course, the way Jamie Lloyd dies, she gets shot in the head in the producer's cut for some reason with a silencer, like a hit, rather than just Michael Myers killing her, which is normally what he would do. So yeah, it's worth seeing. It's probably, I would say, up there as being. A lot of people they demanded a copy of the producer's cut, and I had both of them. That's why I did the review and talked a little bit about both, but mostly this one. This is the producer's cut. I got this one for nothing. So this is the old DVD, Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, and it says it's the scariest one of all by the Academy of Science Fiction and Fantasy and Horror Films. So you can't question that credibility there. I don't know, maybe in 1995 it was scary. I'm sure it's scary for Paul Rudd to see now. He doesn't want to be reminded of it. He doesn't want his family to see that he was in that awful movie. But yeah, that's basically all I really have to say about it. I enjoy doing this little I guess trilogy of Halloween reviews with the 3 films that I've done. And if you like my channel, subscribe. If you enjoy me doing reviews, feel free to drop some suggestions in the comments section. I probably have the movie lying around, or it's on Amazon or whatever. I like doing reviews. I'm doing a little bit of a project right now that you will see soon. That's going to be cool. And I hope you're having a happy, fun Halloween and stuff like that. And take care. Have a what are they? A spooktacular Halloween. That was fucking cheesy as shit.